So, ladies and gentlemen, this morning on Sports File, we're recording live from Cummings Brothers in Meductic, New Brunswick again. Our great friends here have graciously allowed us again to tape our latest YouTube podcast. And we not only like to thank the staff, but our representatives from Old Dutch who provided us with complimentary snacks this morning. If anybody knows me, I love my Old Dutch. And always buy 2 bags because Old Dutch chips go fast. Now today we're looking at one of not only my favorite boxers of all time, probably my favorite athlete of all time. Roberto the Panamanian Express Hands of Stone Duran. Now Roberto Duran Samaniego was born June 16, 1951 in Panama. Now he competed from 1968 to 2001, but today's podcast we're not going to go into his 1980s, 1990s and 2000 record, which was quite impressive. We're just going to talk about from the start of his career up until and after the third Esteban de Jesus fight. Now, Duran held numerous world championships, especially in the 4 weight classes, but we're going to talk about his lightweight reign at 135. Now, he's only the second boxer ever to compete over a span of 5 decades, the first being the great black heavyweight champion of the world and world champ, Jack Johnson. Now, Duran's style basically cannot be described. Imagine Mike Tyson with the Tasmanian Devil with a little bit of angry wife in the mix. He was a versatile technical brawler and what you call a pressure fighter, and known for his formidable punching power and excellent defense. Duran was the type of fighter, if you took one punch, he'll give you 3. And there's no way, as Bruce Lee once said about Duran, you can compete against something like that. Now, in 2002, Duran was voted by Ring Magazine as the 5th greatest fighter from the era 1922 to 2002, which was Ring's anniversary, 80th anniversary. While boxing historian, the late and great Burt Randolph Sugar, rated him as the 8th greatest fighter of all time. Now, according to AP, he's the best lightweight of the 20th century, and I tend to agree, with many considering the greatest of all time. Now, Duran finally retired in January 2002 at age 50, and this was after his last title fight for the middleweight crown against William Joppy, which he lost by knockout. He ended up with a professional record of 119 fights, 103 wins, 70 knockouts, and his main trainer was the Cuban legend Ray Arcel, and Arcel had trained Duran up until his unsuccessful title match for the junior middleweight title against Wilfredo Benitez in 1982. So we're going to talk again from 1968 to 1979 here, and he came from abject poverty. Now he was when he was born, his mother Clara was a native Guarte, and his father Margento Duran Sanchez was from Arizona, actually, and of Mexican descent. So he had that Panamanian Mexican combination of strength and power. Now, he was raised in the slums of El Chillo in the district La Casa de Piedra, the House of Stone, in Panama, thus the term Hands of Stone. Now, he began sparring with experienced boxers at the Nieco del Guardia Gymnasium when he was only 8, and he made his professional debut in 1968 at the age of 16. Now, there's various legends about Duran. He was a street fighter. Allegedly, he was challenged once to knock out, it was either a donkey or a horse with one punch, and he did that. And he do a lot of street fighting. He was a brawler at an early age, but a highly wiry and intelligent fighter. Now, Duran had an impressive run at the start of his career, winning 31 consecutive fights, including wins over such talented opposition as future featherweight champion Ernesto Marcel and former super featherweight champion Hiroshi Kobayashi, which led, of course, the infamous first title bout he had in June 1972 when he defeated Ken Buchanan for the lightweight title in Madison Square Garden for what was the WA title, but it was considered the ring title. Now he entered the fight as a 2-1 underdog and scored a big knockdown against the defending champ 15 seconds into the fight and took him apart the rest of the match. Now he was well ahead on points in all 3 cards when the bell rang for the 13th round, and I guess Duran, who did not allegedly hear the bell, continued to throw in a couple of extra punches as Buchanan lay on the ropes. As he continued to punch him, the referee, John Bianco, grabbed him to pull him away, and when he pulled down Duran's arms, it kind of led to an accidental, crotch blow or low blow to Buchanan, and he dropped to the canvas like a dead man, like gripping his crotch and like screaming in pain. Now, his trainer Joe Clancy later said he believed the blow to have been caused by a knee, and Duran was not disqualified by the bout. Instead, he was deemed as a winner stoppage when Buchanan couldn't respond to the bell for the next round. Now, Red Smith, the great writer of the New York Times, said LaBianca had to award the victory to Duran, even the pinch was a low blow, because anything short of pulling a knife is regarded possible American boxing. And Buchanan had the line of the year that year when he said he left the fight with extremely sore balls. So Duran was going to beat Buchanan anyway, but it was just kind of ironic. A very tough, Commonwealth fighter like Buchanan is writhing in pain, where Duran basically, his best blows were body and head shots. And to basically, hit someone in the crotch to win the title, he would have won anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Now, Duran was what he called a non-title expert. He would only fight against fighters that he deemed worthy to challenge him for his title. He won several non-title medals in the year, and that was his kind of half-dead downfall, because when he fought the great Esteban de Jesus for the first time in a non-title, Esteban, who was comparable to Sugar Ray Leonard with his hand speed, he lost a 10-round decision. Now, according to some judges' cards, it could have been a draw, but Duran seemed to weaken in the later rounds, and he couldn't put it away. Again, now Duran got back on track soon after with actually title offenses against Jimmy Robertson, the great talented fighter Hector Thompson, and future lightweight champion Guts Ishimuta. Now in '74, he eventually lost to De Jesus with an 11-round knockout in their title fight. And in '76, he defeated future light welterweight champion Sal Mambi. Now overall, Duran made 12 successful defenses of his title, 11 by knockout, to hit a 62-1 record. Now, the biggest fight that a lot of people remember him from the 70s was his devastating knockout of a very talented fighter by the name of Ray Lampkin. Now, this is a shout out to my good friend Derek Hamilton, and actually my cousin Ronnie Savoy and Lorenzo Savoy, who've been boxing athletes and promoters and coaches up in Eagle River Crossing for years. Derek from Jacket River. The Lampkin fight went into the late rounds, and Duran was kind of challenged by Lampkin, I guess, between rounds to do his best, and Duran hit him with such a blow it almost decapitated him. It was one of the most devastating knockouts that I've ever seen. But see, Duran had no malice in the fight. He said afterwards at Ring Magazine, Lampkin was leaving himself open, and as a fighter, he could always take advantage. Now, in 1978, that was the highlight, I think, of that year for boxing, besides the heavyweight division with Larry Holmes. He had another fight with De Jesus in a unification match, promoted by Don King, and Duran unified the lightweight division by winning De Jesus WBC championship. Now, in February 1979, Duran gave up the undisputed title to move up, and we all know what happened, with Sugar Ray Leonard, Hagler, Hearns later on, which we'll talk about in a future podcast. Now, for a lot of people, Duran at lightweight has never really been recognized by the modern era as much as he should have. A lot of Duran's fights were not televised on national TV. He only became recognized when Howard Cosell and Don King and other heavy hitters started to recognize the fact that Duran could be the best of the 1970s, and eventually, in a very, very talented decade, he was recognized as the best fighter of the 1970s. Now, he was a direct link to Sugar Ray Robinson, a direct link to the great welterweights through the years. But Duran was always a person you knew something was going to happen. If he saw in the first round that his opponent was showing weakness on the left or right hand side to the body, he would have an arsenal. He was the closest boxer out there to like a shoot fighter, and that's what he was. If he had to take off the gloves and fight somebody for money, Duran would probably win. Can you imagine this? Like, I mentioned the Tasmanian Devil, okay? Imagine the Tasmanian Devil as an evil character. Duran was like that. But my dad always had the expression with Duran and Tyson and fighters like him, don't go to the fridge. Meant to say wait till the commercial, because there was fights I watched with Duran. I saw most of his fights on French media a day or 2 days afterwards. I was just totally amazed. So like I said, it was almost like it was a magnet. Wherever the fighter was in the other corner, Duran would go directly to him and take him out. And you can't teach that. There's no boxing coach I've ever covered or talked to can even teach people how to fight by like Duran, because Duran was not only offensive, he was defensive. So this is the first of two podcasts I'm doing on Duran. We hope you enjoy it. Please leave me a like or subscribe or a comment, because it's always appreciated. But on YouTube, go into his top 10 knockouts, especially in the 1970s. And there's an aspect of, I think, his mid-70s fights that he almost had a chip in his shoulder, like he wasn't getting the recognition he deserved. But Old Ring magazines should have quite a few write-ups, especially on the De Jesus third fight. And that was plugged as the super fight of 1978, which it was. But De Jesus, God bless his soul, he died of HIV later on. He took a massive beating. I really think he wasn't the same. De Jesus would be comparable, kind of Sugar Ray Leonard's talent, but with Thomas Hearn's kind of durability. De Jesus was more than deserving to be WBC champion, but Duran was just had his number too heavy. So, and if Ken Buchanan ever listens to this podcast, just remember, sometimes a punch in the balls is not intentional. But in the case of Duran, you never know. Maybe he planned to punch in the balls before the fight started, because I guess you riled him up, and we saw that in that fight. So again, fans of Hands of Stone, this is for you, Derek, Ronnie, Lorenzo, Freddie Corrigan as well, Devin Corrigan, all my crew up home. So we wish you a great day, and as we like to say in the boxing ring, keep punching, Apollo. Have a great day. Bye.